Hey guys, so currently I am 13 minutes away from Washington Square Park, and I am using the app Too Good To Go to basically get cheaper food. So how the app works is basically at the end of the night, most restaurants have a lot of leftover food, and most of it goes to waste. So with this app, basically people can purchase surprise bags, and the restaurants can get a little, like, give it away without wasting it. And they usually cost around $4 to $5. And I imagine in other cities or suburb areas, the app is probably pretty barren. But here in New York City, Manhattan, there's tons and tons of restaurants where you can choose from. Now, I took a look at the app, and I wouldn't say there was a huge selection, but there was a decent selection. And I chose one that was actually kind of viable. I didn't want to choose some of the bakeries or pastry places because that's not really actual like dinner food. So what I did was I got one for $5, a mystery bag. It's going to be leftover stuff from this sushi place, Matsu. Now the issue is the pickup time is 9:30 and it's 9 o'clock now. I got here half an hour early, so I just have to burn time. I tried to get it earlier, I asked, and they were just like, you have to wait 30 minutes. So we'll see if I could just walk around and burn some time here. My goal was to get in and out of the city and get back home around 9, but that's just not going to happen today because I just had, walked around so much. So we'll see what this mystery bag has to offer. I will say, generally speaking, my goal is not to live off Too Good To Go. So that's not a probably sustainable way to live for long term. I mean, you never know what these bags have to offer, especially if it's older food. But we'll see what happens. Thanks, and I'll see you later. All right, we got our Too Good To Go delivery in at 9:30. They were a little perturbed I was there 3 minutes early. They were like 9:30. So, I'm empathetic to that. I think they probably just didn't want to give early food. But what did I get for $4? I got a bunch of rice, fantastic. I got some miso soup. It's really warm. And then we got this tiny container of what seems to be salmon. It's just like a big rice ball of salmon, seaweed, and rice. So not bad, not great, but definitely not bad. I would peg this as probably a decent purchase. I wouldn't complain about it. Is it extraordinary? No, but there was a lot of rice, and then yes, the salmon and the seaweed was not really cut and rolled together in a fancy way, but that was a healthy portion. I mean, you could probably survive off that. So pretty decent pickup. Yeah, it would have been, if it was twice the portion size, that would have been exceptional. But pretty darn solid. It looks pretty fresh still, so I think overall we did a good job. Obviously, it probably varies based on the day. So, some days they may have more or less left over. I'm back home. It is 11:15, and I discovered something. It took me 3 nights to discover it, but as you can see, this room has lighting, good lighting. There's a switch by the door, so I'm glad it only took me 3 nights to discover it. But that makes this room even better. They've got these like ceiling lights, makes it look more fancy. If it was only that dim light that I was using before, it would have looked a lot worse. But man, I had no idea. This makes this place even better. So now that I've showered and I've got my bearings, I want to kind of give a summation of the day. Overall, I think it went pretty decent. It was tiring. It was kind of hot, not excessively hot, but it was somewhat hot. And I started sweating. I got very thirsty. And I held it until I got back here to drink some iced tap water rather than spend money on bottled water. I actually was going to, but then I got to the sushi restaurant and they allowed me to use the bathroom. And I splashed my face with water, and um, you know that refreshed me up. And yeah, it's hard to find a restroom in New York City unless you're willing to pay for it. Suppose if I went to a place and paid, I would have been able to. But I tried, and a lot of places were closed, especially at night. It was really tough. So I don't think I can do that every day. Plus, I think part of my intent is to also just have a more chill New York experience. So that means not, going to do these trying to stuff my evenings and nights with tourist activities. So today and yesterday were great. Um, but, I think sometimes I gotta just chill. Maybe I'll just stay at home, rest. Um, but, going on the metro and then going out for 2-3 hours, that's tough. And the whole Too Good To Go app is great, but you have to wait until like 9 o'clock, 9:30 to really pick up. Basically the end of the night. And so that's another thing you have to consider if you use it. At least the ones that I saw. Um, Overall, I would say the whole mentality of low expectations really helped because I basically had a good time because of that. Otherwise, I would be stressing more or focusing on, oh, it could have been better if I went here, or if I went there and I met a bunch of friends, and then so on and so forth. But, I went out, I danced salsa with a bunch of people, a couple attractive women, and had a good time. Walked around the city, really got to see more of the Upper West Side of Manhattan. I saw the buildings, and there were good and bad to that. You assume, well, I assumed that New York City was all fancy, rich, clean. And that's not the case, and I kind of already knew that. It was clearly dirty to an extent. I knew there was going to be garbage bags on the streets, but yeah, I don't know. You would expect, okay, I'm in the richest borough, Manhattan. Now I get to see nothing but posh stuff, clean stuff, rich people. And sure, I think generally speaking, I have the sense that there's a lot more people that were rich, but you really can't tell for sure. There's a lot more young people, a lot of people eating at fancy restaurants. But then there's also, there's still beggars, there's still people on the streets that looked poor. And some of them were clearly like mentally unstable. They were one of them was yelling at me and saying that he would kill me if I screw with him the wrong way. But he was clearly like talking to himself as well, like mentally off. And there was a few people like that. So with the large crowds comes also potentially dangerous people. But at the same time, there's a bunch of other homeless people who just like, there's this one that was just knocked out sleeping while the other guy was saying that. So he didn't seem to care or feel unsafe. Yeah, very interesting. There's so much sensory stuff going on, lots of different things happening, and it's too soon to say if I like New York City. If this is a place I could imagine myself living for a while, possibly, because there is some good too. It was basically a free salsa event, and then all sorts of stuff going on. A bunch of random people just talking, chilling, sitting there. But tons of people out and about walking and doing stuff. And there was, it was just interesting. And I wondered, like, what's it like to live here? Like, it must be so noisy. Can you really get to sleep there? Can you really, like, have peace when there's so much bustling around you? And, there's people that were just trying to make it. They weren't, like, some of them were just trying to get by. They weren't rich. They weren't aspiring to be rich. You could tell they just had normal jobs. Some of them were clearly poor, just trying to get by in New York City. So, wow, it could be the city of opportunity to some. I think to many, they're just trying to get by there. So, very interesting times. I think if you're going to be here, it's important to have some intent, as in why. What are you trying to get out of it that you can't get somewhere else? And some people love it. They just immediately love it. I know Brett Conti, the YouTuber, he loves it. But I think it all depends, you know. It also depends on your income level. Brett Conti lives in Manhattan, and, you know, he can go to the fancy pizza places and stuff like that. But that's just one side of New York. Same with Brooklyn. You know, Brooklyn, although it's a little less expensive, it's still one flavor of New York that is not indicative of all of the flavors and all the income levels. I would say I'm definitely living a more budget-friendly way, and you know, on the plus, this place is growing on me. It's quiet. There's air conditioning. There's lighting. It is brilliant. So, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do, but maybe I'll do a chill day tomorrow, or just go somewhere and come back quicker. I don't think I should be going out and about every day, otherwise I'll exhaust myself, burn myself out. At least if I do go out, I don't stay for too long. Yeah, it's just, keep in mind, like, the intent here is not just to make it a vacation and tourist, but also get that local feel, that local resident feel. And local residents sometimes just choose to stay in and chill and relax too. So there you have it. That ends the episode. I'm wishing you well. I'm wishing you the best. I also really care about connection. And another quick win before we wrap up, I was able to make a friend or friendly acquaintance with someone. One person was someone who lives in this Airbnb, like is in another room, and we've had some friendly banter, so that's great. And then another person I talked to, and the conversation was very natural, and we're gonna stay in touch. And she introduced me to a bunch of salsa dance events and places. So yeah, I think that's important too. Friendships and strong relationships are core to happiness. So you know, that's another plus that I have that, and it's only my second work day. So of course there's always challenges, stuff I'm working through, even stuff behind the scenes that I'm working through. Like I'm still adjusting and tweaking my desk setup here, because it's still causing me a little bit of forearm pain, and that's no bueno, and I really need to get that fixed. So I'm working on it and working on certain stretches and exercises to relieve my forearm pain. So thanks. See you later.